Alright guys, so lately I've kind of found myself gravitating a little bit more towards using wireless IEMs and headphones. In my opinion, the sound is just hard to beat, but the problem here is companies, for the most part, has eliminated the headphone jack in a lot of the newer portable devices. So technically, if you're going to use wired devices, you kind of have to live the dongle life, which isn't always convenient, but sometimes it's worth the trade-off. So today we're going to check out a new product from Crin. It is a portable DAC/amp, which is called the Protocol Max. He is releasing this under his Crin ear company. It does come in retailing at $89. And so far to this point, I've been very impressed with the IEMs that he's released under this brand. So I was really intrigued to see what he did with the Protocol Max, because having a portable DAC and an amp is something I've kind of grown accustomed to because of my listening preferences. Now let's go ahead and start with the packaging. It does have that simple, clean look. It's just mainly black on the outside of the box. This kind of fits on brand with the rest of the products that Crin has released. And inside the box is pretty simple, because outside of the amp itself, you do get a USB-C to USB-C cable, which is a nice little braided cable, and then they've also included a USB-C to USB-A adapter if you're going to be plugging it into anything that doesn't have an available USB-C port. Now the Protocol Max itself is actually made from aluminum. It does have a standard 3.5mm headphone jack and a 4.4mm headphone plug-in. So this is the balanced plug-in. And this device can pretty much easily handle any headphone or IEM, especially the ones that I've thrown at it, because it has 600 milliwatts of power. This is very powerful for a device that's this small, and you simply get it into using that max amount of power by switching it into its boost mode. Now, most of the time I was able to use it in its economy mode. I didn't find that most of the devices that I normally use needed that max amount of power, but there is a pair of headphones right now that I am testing, which I can't actually talk about, that I did find myself kind of using that boost setting most of the time, because it's a little bit more power hungry than some of the other devices that I'm normally using. And the way that you just switch it from the economy mode to the boost is it just has this simple little switch. There's also 3 buttons on the other side that is your play, your pause, and your volume control. Now I do want to point out that this device uses UAC 2 or USB Audio Class 2. This is what it's in by default, and this is what allows the amp to have 32-bit playback at 768 kilohertz. But there are some devices like the first gen Nintendo Switch, the PS5, that does not support UAC 2. So you actually have to hold the volume up button when you plug it into a device like this to switch it into UAC 1. That way it can be compatible, and that way you won't have any issues using it on some devices like this. But at this, you only get 24-bit playback at 96 kilohertz. But you'll know it's in this mode because the light that's on the back of this, which is normally blue to let you know that everything is working, it will turn red. But if you do want to turn the light off altogether, you can do this by holding the volume up and the volume down at the same time. That way you don't have this glowing light if you're going to use it like while in bed and you don't want it to kind of light up the bedroom. Now the Protocol Max is using dual Cirrus Logic DACs, and on top of that it is also using dual SG microamps. And this just basically means it's giving you a very clean analog sound, or at least close to analog sound. It's just no distortion. It's very clean. It's very detailed. And you don't get a lot of the compression and artifacts that you get while using devices like true wireless earbuds. Now, I am going to say this device is still not as convenient as using a pair of true wireless earbuds. And I am going to say that I don't think that most people, especially just like average consumers, are going to look for a device like the Protocol Max, because it's just way too convenient to grab a pair of true wireless earbuds and those things just automatically sync up. And then you don't have to have that extra device and a device that has a wire to it plugged in. A lot of people just aren't going to do that. But one of the cool tricks that the Protocol Max does have up its sleeve is just simply by plugging this into a computer and going to the graph.hangout.audio site, you can go in and EQ these. You can just basically have it go up and show a specific type of graph that you want, and then play around with the EQ settings to see how it kind of moves its measurements to kind of just, again, dial it in the way that you want. And then once you get the sound the way that you want it, you just click the push to to device button that's up there, and then it pushes it over to the Protocol Max. And then from there, any device that you plug it into, that EQ is going to carry over because it's already just loaded into the device. And this is really convenient because I do use a bunch of different devices. And it's nice to know that I don't lose that EQ setting because I go from one device to the other. Now, some of the devices I kind of like to go between is I would use it on my PC, I use it on my Legion Go, and then most of the time I'm using it on my Pixel 10 Pro. And again, the convenience of having that EQ settings that I did on the computer just carry over, just again made it pretty convenient. And then at the end of the day, I was left pretty impressed with the power that the Protocol Max had. And my overall opinion on this is not going to be for most people. I think most people are still going to prefer having a pair of true wireless earbuds. But I am going to say that no matter how great Bluetooth is getting and how some of these like Bluetooth codecs are getting, they still are not going to compare to using a wired IEM or wired headphone, especially plugged into a DAC or an amp like this. And I'm going to say, though, as much as I love the sound of this, I still kind of found myself, for the most part, just grabbing a pair of true wireless earbuds because of the convenience, because, you know, it already is paired. Again, I didn't have cables. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to fall in. And so I kind of treated the Protocol Max as a device that I like to use around the house. If I'm sitting at my desktop, you could use it as a desktop amp. If I'm sitting on the couch and I'm playing the Legion Go, it's already right there. I'm stationary. And so it doesn't really bother me that I have all of these wires. Now, I am going to say if I'm traveling like on a plane or I'm on a long car ride or whatever, I could see myself using the Protocol Max because, again, for the most part, I am stationary. I just don't like to use devices like this anymore where I'm on the go, where I'm going to be moving, because having that cable and then having to keep up with an extra device is a little inconvenient. But again, you're just sacrificing sound quality by going with true wireless earbuds. So it's really going to come down to what it is you want and how great of sound quality that you want most of the time while you're out and about. But guys, that wraps up my video and kind of like a quick overview of the Crin Ear Protocol Max. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.